And welcome up to the second floor of the Duncan Student Center for our last full Friday edition of Shamrock Sports here in the 2024 calendar year. I'm Tyler Reedy alongside Ryan Murphy. Murph, great to be with you. A lot of snow yesterday. It feels like Christmas time. Big snowball fight last night and a lot to get to looking back and ahead here today on the show.
The snow's on the ground. Great sports going on in all of the major sports, really. What's not to love? We got a lot of great stuff to talk about today.
Absolutely, and it starts last night. Notre Dame women's basketball at home, top 10 matchup in the ACC-SEC Challenge against Texas. Notre Dame ranked 10th in the country, Texas ranked 4th. Let's take a look back at the highlights. This was a loaded contest between the Longhorns and the Fighting Irish. First meeting since 1997, third overall. Picking up 30 seconds into the first quarter. Texas gets started with their hot three-point shooter, Shea Holley, who broke the Longhorns record for career games played last night. Notre Dame answers 2 minutes later with the superstar sophomore Hannah Hidalgo hitting the three. Then Sonia Citron on another setup from Olivia Miles ties it back up at 8-8. The story of the first quarter was Texas going out in front, Notre Dame staying in it, clawing back. Here the Irish would take a 12-10 lead with 3.5 minutes to go as Sonia Citron finished a nice dish from Hannah Hidalgo. She's happy about that, but here comes Texas again, and it's Holley again with her second three, this one from the right corner. Texas goes up by 2 and then up by 6, 22-16 toward the end of the first quarter as Madison Booker nails the trifecta. But with 8 seconds left, you know where the basketball is going. Hannah Hidalgo, make a play. What do you got? 4 seconds, drives down, gets the left wing, throws the prayer of a three-pointer and splashes it down to end the first quarter. Notre Dame within 3 points, and Hannah Hidalgo's looking at that hand, might be on fire. Olivia Miles, same spot, tie game, 20 seconds into quarter number 2. All even at 22 apiece. And then look at this play from Hidalgo to Miles. Whoop, right over the head, back to the basket, right in the bread basket of Miles, and she lays it home. An unbelievable play by this star-studded Notre Dame backcourt, and they share an embrace at the end of it, putting the Irish on a 10-0 run, up 4 points. But Texas stays in it in the second quarter as Holley hits another three, and then a second one consecutively, her 4th of the first half. 14 points on the night for Holley, and then Madison Booker pulls Texas back within 3 at 35-32. Final 5 minutes of the first half. Notre Dame would lead 39-34 at the break. Moving to 6 minutes left in the third quarter. Sonia Citron connects on the three. Olivia Miles didn't even need to watch it. Running back defensively, knowing she'd make it. And then it's Miles from the corner, back-to-back triples, and Notre Dame leads by 7. Texas, however, with Kate Koval, the Irish center, in foul trouble, gets back in it. Kyla Oldacre, the Miami transfer, with back-to-back buckets on the inside. And then Madison Booker, the 20-point scorer, game high for Texas on the Longhorn side, ties it at 55 all. But there's Koval using the bank in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame up by 2. Texas responds, however, with the three-pointer by Layla Filia. Bench fired up, Longhorns ahead by 1, first lead since the first quarter. But back and forth they go. Leah King, who double-doubled last night, puts Notre Dame in front. And then Hannah Hidalgo out to Sonia Citron. Chance for her to ice it with 40 seconds left. Can't hit to put Notre Dame up 5. And here comes Texas the other way. Final 10 seconds. Rory Harmon returning from a torn ACL last year with a huge jump shot. The shot of the year for Texas so far. And we're tied at 66. 7.7 to go. Notre Dame a chance to take the lead, maybe win it. Olivia Miles, can she do what she did against Louisville 2 years ago? Yes, laying it in. Notre Dame up 2 seconds left. They force the turnover. Looks like the Irish are going to win, but wait. A foul called against Leah King. That's the 5th of the quarter against Notre Dame. Hannah Hidalgo can't believe it. So Texas is going to go shoot free throws. There's another look at it. That bump on the flyby by King called a foul, and it's Harmon back to the free throw line, hitting the first and then the second. Clutch performance down the stretch from Harmon. Tied at 68. One last look for Hidalgo to win it from 3. Nowhere near the rim. Into overtime it goes. Texas would feed Oldacre to start just 15 seconds in. Longhorns up 2. But then here come the Irish. Hidalgo, the three-pointer, finishing off her 30-point night to lead the game and put Notre Dame up a trio. On the next possession for the Irish, Miles out to Citron, back-to-back three-pointers, and the Irish go up by 6 in the final 2.5. Then Texas misses 3 three-pointers in a row, down by 6 points. Notre Dame closes the game on a 12-0 run in overtime. The fans love it. They're throwing up the horns down. Here's how the end of the game sounded on WVFI.
In the eyes of 4th-ranked Texas can look somewhere else. Notre Dame has a second top 5 victory in just a month to start the season. 80-70 Irish in overtime.
Women's basketball now 6-2 on the season, ahead of the ACC opener Sunday against Syracuse, and then another big game at Purcell Pavilion 6 days from now, December 12th, against the second-ranked UConn Huskies. For more now on the Irish, here's our panel with Ryan Murphy.
Thanks so much, Tyler, alongside Fionn Murray and Trey Cody here on the panel. That call at the end of the game, guys, that sounded pretty familiar. I don't know. It sounds like we know that guy. Sounded pretty good. Great job to our very own Tyler Reedy and Jimmy Collins on the call for WVFI last night. Big win for the Irish. We can take a look at the box score here. You can see Texas's three-point shooting, a liability down the stretch there in overtime. It's the second top 5 victory of the season for the Irish, and a big one going forward. What were your takeaways? Let's start with you, Trey.
Well, a lot of positives, some negatives, we'll get to those later, but let's stay on the bright side to start things off. And I want to say that Neil Ivey game planned this game perfectly from a defensive standpoint with the 2-3 zone. We have Miles and Hidalgo up top for the Irish, and they fly around. Hidalgo averaged 4.6 steals last year, right now at that 4.4 mark, so very similar. Miles getting about a steal and a half a game. They absolutely fly at that top of the key, and they kind of do a 1-1 stack, so it's the 2 of them and then 3 behind to start things off. And then they just work so well with each other, moving out to the wings, top of the key, cutting off the girl, centered at the elbow or the free throw line extended to just try to cut them off and throw Texas off of their game. That was really fun to watch. And then offensively, kind of what we expected from the beginning of the season. This Notre Dame team goes with the guards, with Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles, their 2 best players. Hidalgo with 30 last night. We saw a lot of those in the first half, but then a massive 3 to start off overtime in transition. Miles added 18 on top of that, including that what could have possibly been a game winner at the end of regulation if it wasn't for that unfortunate foul call. You look at some of the games from the Cayman Islands series where 0-2 losses to TCU and Utah. In that Utah game, Miles and Hidalgo, 8 of 24 for 24 points. That's just not going to get it done. Last night against Texas, 17 for 31, 5 threes, and 48 points. That is more like it. They had 48 points, majority of the Irish's points, and a lot of assists as well to get things going. This team is going to follow what Miles and Hidalgo do offensively.
Absolutely. Look, Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo carry this team. With that being said, I think that Notre Dame and Texas aren't even fully healthy, even in the same conversation. Notre Dame are national championship contenders, and they showed that once again. A few slip-ups on Cayman Islands. Notre Dame still undefeated on U.S. soil. Cayman Islands, British territory, of course. So I think that this game was closer than it would have been had Notre Dame had more than one big. Kate Caval, 5 blocks, very great defensive performance, but 3 fouls, got in foul trouble early. Referees were very trigger happy last night, and the student section was not happy with that, I might say. But look, this game was close because of the size advantage Texas had. 19 offensive rebounds to Notre Dame's 8. Just the difference there. Just they had more possessions, but Notre Dame did more with their fewer possessions. As you say, the guard play got Notre Dame through incredibly well. And I mean, look, it's a great place to build on. Second top 5 win. Yeah, very happy.
I will say Notre Dame only rolling out a 6-man team last night. Only sub off the bench, Cass Prosper. Didn't score a point, played a little over 15 minutes. Getting some of those bigs back is going to be massive for this team. Like you said, with Kate Caval, some of those times that she was out of the lineup there, with Notre Dame having Leah King in the middle of their 2-3 zone with Prosper and Citron on the outside, that's a really tough down low interior presence defensively for a team that's got Kyla Oldacre and Taylor Jones at 6'5" and 6'6" respectively. It's really tough to match up, and that's when we saw this Texas team go on some of the runs. But overall, very good performance from the Irish.
Yeah, and you saw on our box score graphic there, no points off the bench for the Irish employing that 6-player rotation. So big win for Notre Dame, snaps a 2-game losing streak. How do you think the Irish can now build off of this second top 5 win in a way maybe they didn't against USC, their first top 5 win? How do you see the Irish kind of going forward here?
I mean, looking back towards that Cayman Islands slip-ups, those 2 back-to-back slip-ups, one of them, being a little bit more of like a late-game push from from TCU. That was sort of Haley Van Lith went on her run. She's taken over that team. Utah was just they never just couldn't get started. If Notre Dame had lost this game, it would have been a very, very, very difficult spot. Maybe ranked 15, 16. Now you go back, you beat, like, coming off an incredible USC win, lose twice, and if you lost to Texas, that just ruins all the momentum. The momentum is now back and hopefully here to stay.
I think it's important that we can have that momentum. The Irish can have that momentum going forward into ACC play. They open against Syracuse at Syracuse on Sunday, in what it should be a decent game, but the Irish heavy favorites in that one. The ACC this year, as compared to last, a little bit worse. only 4 ranked teams right now: Duke, North Carolina, the Irish, and I have that written down somewhere. Well, it's somewhere. It's not as heavy as an ACC, regardless.
But what's looming outside of that ACC game on Sunday is really the UConn game on Thursday here in Purcell Pavilion. Notre Dame going to be going forward playing another top 10 team at home, looking to kind of continue off that momentum.
And that's the one that'll be exciting. You know, UConn ranked 2nd in the country, a lot of offensive firepower, returning with Paige Beckers. Jake Irons and myself will be on the WVFI radio call. Got to give a little bit of a plug there. Make sure to check that one out. Should be a fantastic game at Purcell Pavilion. Hopefully the energy will be rocking just like the Texas game was.
A lot to look forward to down at Purcell Pavilion. We're staying over there, staying on the parquet floor, talking about the men's team, which is on its own little bit of a skid. When we come back, stick with us here on Shamrock Sports.
Welcome to Shamrock Sports. My name is Tyler Reedy, joined alongside Avery White and Cooper Van Driesch. And hey, we've got a great show on tap today as the anticipation is building with Notre Dame football set to take the field once again tomorrow.
I know. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Notre Dame offensive line comes out.
Check up. Let's go.
That position group will be critical for the Irish.
Hey! That's and one. That's and one.
Hey, I hate to be that guy, but we're kind of in the middle of something here. It's pretty important.
We know you guys want to play too. I mean, we need 3 more.
3 more? Yeah, I've been waiting for this. Come on.
Welcome back here to Shamrock Sports. Ryan Murphy alongside Fiona Murray and Trey Cody. Moving now to the men's side. Notre Dame has lost 5 in a row. Many of those losses by an average of 8.5 points or more. Skidding right now. Fiona, Marcus Burton injury has had a lot to do with Notre Dame's struggle of late. How has that affected the team's play?
Look, watching the games with Marcus Burton, you realize how much Marcus Burton is important to Notre Dame. His minutes off the floor are always the worst minutes that the team plays. So now you have 4 games in a row without Marcus Burton. Yeah. It's that entire period of anxiety for 4 games. And that's 4 losses with different complexions on them. Overtime loss to Rutgers, a 21-point loss to Georgia just earlier in the week. It's a very, very different team without Marcus Burton. I think it's an NCL injury that came out yesterday. Coach Michael Shrewsbury basically said that his future is more important than winning 1 or 2 extra games, saying that Burton will stay out as long as they deem necessary. 1 or 2 games, I think, is a little bit of a mischaracterization there. I imagine we had predictions earlier in the year of where we saw this team going. I don't think those predictions are going to hold because it's a different team. Long term, though, I do want to say I'm still very excited about this team. Their best moments are very, very high up there, and bringing in a bunch of recruits next year, I think this team could be something special. For now, though, a little bit shaky.
And Trey, the ACC as a conference, which Notre Dame begins ACC play tomorrow at noon at home against Syracuse. ACC play has been a bit iffy as well for the teams across the board, but without Burton, where do you see Notre Dame kind of fitting in the greater picture?
Well, the overall ACC has been iffy to say the least. Very iffy, I think I would concur there. In the SEC ACC Challenge, the annual challenge, 2-14 the ACC win. I believe that is the worst margin the ACC has ever had in this challenge. 2-14. Granted, the 2 wins were against the 2 best teams in the SEC. Auburn, number 2, going down to number 9 ranked Duke at Duke, and then undefeated number 4 Kentucky losing at Clemson. So 2 big home wins for the ACC there, but the rest of the games did not look good for the ACC. 11 of the games were double-digit victories by SEC teams, and 5 of them were by 20-plus points. The 3 ranked ACC teams going into the challenge went 1-2 with Duke getting a win. Pitt and UNC were the other 2 ranked teams. They both lost by 20 plus. Just absolute blowouts. The ACC, it's such a shame because with Burton healthy, this Notre Dame team could be making a push to be top 5 or 6 in the ACC. It's wide open. Some of the ones that were predicted to be towards the top end, like a Wake Forest or a Miami, they're not doing as good as people thought. Even a Louisville looked very rudimentary against Ole Miss. It's curious to see how they're going to fare in a wide open ACC once you get outside that maybe top 2 or 3 spots. With Burton out, the load falls more on Tay Davis, Matalacco, and Braden Shrewsbury. That's kind of the big 3 right now. Tay Davis has looked fantastic. He's upped his play in the last couple of games. In the games since Burns has been injured, the last 4 ones, he's averaging 17 points per game as opposed to 12.4 through the first 5. And then Matalacco also up 4 points per game to 12. He had a bunch of big 3s down the stretch in that Rutgers game. Can that big 3 kind of take this team towards the top 5 or 6 in the ACC? It's going to be really tough to tell, but I guess we'll get a glimpse of it tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be certainly interesting to see. Again, Notre Dame starting ACC play tomorrow at noon. Thanks to Trey Cody and Fionn Murray. One quick word here before we cut to football talk. Fionn, it's his last appearance here with us on NDTV, coming to us from University of Galway. He's been an absolutely huge asset to all of our coverage, particularly basketball, but also just a great friend. Fionn, just want to thank you for all you've done here for NDTV.
Yeah.
We'll be sad to see you go, but you're going to be in Spain next semester,
Look,
which is pretty cool.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. It's been an incredibly welcome experience, and everyone in front of camera, behind the camera, has been incredible. This is what I want to do for a living, hopefully, and the experiences I've gained here put me on that path. Like the professionalism of everyone, but the kindness as well. It's been wonderful, so thank you.
Well, you're not going anywhere for the next 2 weeks because there's a big football game at the end of it. We're talking football the rest of the way here. First with Kean Bagginstows, who's got a segment on some likelies for the Heisman Award. Kean, take it away.
With the college football season winding down, we were able to get a picture of the favorites for the glorious Heisman Trophy. In my opinion, the 3 favorites are Travis Hunter from Colorado, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, and Cam Ward from Miami. Today, we're going to predict which one of these guys will win the Heisman in all of its glory. First up, let's look at Travis Hunter from Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes. Travis Hunter plays wide receiver and cornerback, something that is unprecedented in college and professional football. In 2021, Hunter shocked the world as he flipped from Florida State to Coach Prime's Jackson State Tigers, becoming the first #1 recruit to commit to an FCS school. In 2023, Hunter followed Deion to Colorado. This year, Hunter had 92 receptions, 1,152 receiving yards, which is 5th in the nation. He was around number 200 in yards per reception, and he had 14 receiving touchdowns, which is 2nd in the nation. These numbers imply that while Hunter is still a solid receiver, his top 5 numbers are more because of the number of passes that are thrown to him. On defense, there's no debate. Travis Hunter is one of the best defenders in the country. This year, he had 11 passes defended, tied for 8th in the nation, and 4 interceptions, tied for number 15th in the nation. Next up, quarterback Cam Ward from the Miami Hurricanes. Ward, like Travis Hunter, started his career at the FCS level as he played for the Incarnate Word Cardinals for 2 years before transferring to Washington State for 2 years. Last offseason, he transferred to Miami. At Miami, Ward has had a 67.4% completion rate, which is 15th in the country, 4,123 passing yards, which is 2nd in the nation behind only Kyle McCord. He is 9th in yards per completion and 4th in yards per attempt. He has 36 passing and 4 rushing touchdowns, which leads the country, 7 interceptions, and a QB rating of 88.0, which leads the country. Here, Cam Ward has definitely proved himself to be the best quarterback in college football in all aspects: efficiency, yardage, and touchdowns. Finally, Ashton Jeanty, junior Boise State running back. Jeanty has been flying under the radar for quite some time, as he had about 1,000 all-purpose yards and 7 touchdowns his freshman year, 2,000 all-purpose yards and 19 touchdowns last year. But this year, with his historic numbers, all eyes are finally pointed toward Jeanty. This year, Jainty had 2,288 rushing yards, which leads the country and is the 5th highest single-season rushing yard total in history. Jainty had 7.3 yards per carry, which is second in the country, and he had 28 rushing touchdowns, which is the 9th highest single-season rushing touchdown total in history, and obviously leads the country. So who will win? The Heisman Trophy measures the top player in college football. To me, the top player in college football means that you are more dominant among your position group than anyone else in the country. With this being said, I think Jainty best fits this description, as this season he has accumulated the 5th highest single-season rushing yard total and 9th highest single-season rushing touchdown total in history. Jainty is also number 1 in basically every rushing category except for rushing yards per carry, where he is number 2. Out of the 4 players who Jainty's single-season rushing yard total is behind, 2 have won the Heisman. Barry Sanders in 1988, who Jainty trails by 340 yards, and Marcus Allen in 1981, who Jainty trails by only 50 yards. Also, Jainty has had more rushing yards this season and 2 more yards per carry than Derrick Henry did in his 2015 Heisman campaign. In 2009, Mark Ingram received the Heisman Trophy with about 600 less rushing yards and 11 less rushing touchdowns than Jainty and 1 less yard per carry. Not since Melvin Gordon in 2014 has anyone had the kind of rushing numbers that Jainty has had this year. Overall, this century, only 3 running backs have won the Heisman. There has been no better time for a 4th.
Thanks so much, Kian. You can watch Ashton Jeanty in action tonight, Boise State and UNLV at 8 o'clock. For Marcus Freeman and company, it was a big week on the recruiting trail with National Signing Day this week, but really all eyes around the Goog are really set on that college football playoff game coming up in the games. Conference championships will decide who Notre Dame plays and when. With more on that, let's send it to the panel. Here's Tyler Reedy with Chris Daly.
Well, thank you, Ryan. So glad to have Chris with us now on the show as we preview the college football playoff. Boy, this season's come a long way since you and Murph were together on that NIU call 3 months ago. But here we are preparing for Notre Dame to host the first-round playoff game. What a year, Chris.
Yeah, what a year indeed. And you talk about that NIU game with Murphy. After that, I was really considering, I'm a freshman, what am I doing here? Why am I at Notre Dame Stadium? No, but now Notre Dame has finally found their footing. They found who they are as a team, and it's been a fun year.
So let's talk a little bit of conference championship weekend. There are 4 big games, I would say, 5 big games that are going to have an impact on Notre Dame's potential seeding. You start tonight with Boise State and UNLV, and then your Saturday slate loaded, 4 of them back-to-back-to-back. Arizona State, Iowa State in the Big 12, Georgia, Texas, top 5 rematch in the SEC, Penn State, Oregon just down the road in Indianapolis for the Big 10, and then on the ACC side, Clemson and SMU. A lot of moving parts, a lot of questions about what could happen if a team like Penn State or Texas loses. Does the committee keep a 2-loss team and conference championship loser ahead of Notre Dame in that regard? See what happens. Irish could land anywhere, we think, from the 5th seed down to the 7th seed. So, Chris, with all that in mind, what are you looking for tomorrow?
Well, I'm looking for that 8 p.m. slate. It's the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. It is the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Oregon Ducks. I think that's the game for a Notre Dame perspective to watch, right? Notre Dame fans need to be looking out for that game for the sole reason that if Oregon beats Penn State by a lot, by at least 2 scores, you'd have to imagine the committee moves Penn State down to that 6th spot, and then Notre Dame can elevate themselves to that 5 seed. However, with all this being said, you always do have to keep in account the big game factor. The committee definitely wants these big money matchups, and Notre Dame, being a national brand that they are, of course, has that to their name, and the committee wants them to be in a spot where they can play in Alabama, where they could play another big opponent.
Yeah, I've got my eye on 2 of those games. The first one being tonight, Boise State, UNLV, and then Arizona State, Iowa State. For those first 2, those are 2 that could determine, A, if Notre Dame lands the 5 seed, who sneaks in as that last team in the playoff, that 12 seed. Likely the weakest conference champion would go into that 12 spot, and then the 4 seed, if Notre Dame gets the 5, the next team Notre Dame would face in the second round, that's going to be your second to weakest, 4th strongest conference champion. It's likely going to come from one of those 2 conferences, the Mountain West or the Big 12, unless In the ACC, Clemson causes some chaos and knocks off SMU. Then Clemson probably becomes your 12 seed. And we get a conversation and a fun debate whether SMU with 2 losses out of the ACC or Alabama, a non-conference champion participant in the SEC with 3 losses, should get that 11 seed. I'm looking forward to seeing how that debate shakes out. I don't know about you, Chris, but that could be a chaotic situation for the college football landscape.
It's going to be very chaotic. The committee have a lot of playoff decisions to make. I don't envy their job at all. They have, a lot of people that are going to be angry, a lot of people that are going to be happy no matter what. So it's going to be fun to watch, and Saturday is going to be a great day of football.
No doubt about it. Now, regardless of who Notre Dame draws in that first round of the college football playoff, this team's got obviously a lot going right. They've beaten every single team by multiple scores since the end of September. They've been on a roll, undeniably one of the hottest teams in college football. But USC game especially, and the last few weeks in particular as well, have unmasked some potential issues that better teams could expose for Notre Dame down the stretch. And Chris, as we enter the playoff, you've got your eyes on special teams, and a lot of folks in that Notre Dame fan base do as well.
Yeah, the kicking issue has been an issue that has extended from the NIU game where they missed 2 kicks. Mitch Jeter was 3 for 3 against Texas A&M, but since then he has not been himself. He's not been the Mitch Jeter that we saw at South Carolina, a Mitch Jeter who was 100% within the 50-yard line. Mitch Jeter, you could see right there against USC, missed a 27-yarder. He's been 1 for 5 since returning from his hip injury. Meanwhile, Zach Yoakum, who is his backup, was 1 for 3 when Mitch Jeter was absent. In tightly contested college football playoff games, kicking is going to play a huge factor and a huge role in deciding who is going to win these games. You look back to Ohio State. The reason Georgia won a national championship 2 seasons ago is because Ohio State couldn't make a field goal when the clock struck midnight, right? They kicked it wide, and then Georgia went on to win the national championship. So for Notre Dame, it's all about getting the easy points, making possessions matter, and without a formidable kicking unit right now, it looks like Notre Dame's going to have to go for it on 4th down. I will say, though, with 3 weeks rest, Mitch Jeter, he has time to recover, to rest his hip, and to find the Mitch Jeter he was at South Carolina.
Certainly, and Notre Dame defensively, too, has done a nice job this season, I think, kind of masking and downplaying the significance of their injuries on that side of the ball with their play overall. I mean, we barely noticed the losses of Boubacar Traore and Jordan Botelho at the Viper position. Benjamin Morrison, one of the best cornerbacks and best defensive players overall in college football, went down in mid-October, and guys like Leonard Moore and Christian Gray have stepped up very well in his placement. But some signs started to expose themselves in that USC game. You think about that passing attack from the Trojans really carving up the Irish at times. Christian Gray had some problems before that pick 6 to seal the game. And a lot of that had to do with the lack of a pass rush. A lot of time for Maava to stand in the pocket, deliver the football, spread it around for USC, and the Trojans moved up and down the field at times against this Notre Dame team. So I am a bit worried about, especially moving into neutral site games where we've got the climate-controlled, mostly domed environment against better teams than Notre Dame is going to see in that first round most likely. Is the Irish going to be able to generate enough of a pass rush to get into the backfield, put pressure on the opposing quarterback, and limit what's going to be much better and much more effective, again, in that climate-controlled environment, passing games than Notre Dame could see in the 20 degrees, potentially snowy northern Indiana environment to start things off? Either way, it's going to be a fun college football playoff. Notre Dame for sure in it, and now we get to sit back, relax, and see how things shake out. Now for more on who Notre Dame might see in the opening round, let's hear from the campus community on the Irish potential first-round matchup in our next segment.
Are you staying for the playoff game?
Yes, I am.
Yup.
I am.
Yeah, I'm staying.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, definitely.
Absolutely. I'm on duty that weekend.
Yes, I'm staying here for the playoff game.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I am. I changed my flight. And who do you want Notre Dame to play?
Any SEC team. I feel like the SEC is trash, and we could destroy any of them.
Low-key IU.
I'm thinking IU or Iowa State, but yeah, keep it in the Midwest. Good Midwestern matchup.
I think Indiana would be really cool, but I also think that Miami, like, different weather elements could also be, like, a different challenge. So I would say Indiana, though.
Indiana.
Indiana University.
Are you staying for the game?
Potentially. If they play on the same day that Indiana football plays, which is my school that I went to, I would not be staying. I would go watch the Hoosiers. But if they play on Friday by themselves, then yeah, I'd stay.
What if they play Indiana?
Go Hoosiers.
And who do you want Notre Dame to play?
Penn State.
Why?
I'm from State College.
So would you root for Penn State?
No.
Good, good.
I want Ohio State because I want a rematch of last year.
NIU.
Probably Georgia or one of the other Southern teams so that they get snowed out.
I want Bama.
Why Bama?
Colder weather for them, and we want revenge.
Give us Bama. I want Bama.
Preferably Alabama.
SMU.
Catholics First Convicts, Miami U.
Either SMU or Clemson if Clemson gets in.
I want Notre Dame to play whoever we can beat.
I like that answer
Right?
a lot.
Like, I just want to win. That's all I want.
Well, there you have it. It seems like Notre Dame's student section will be filled to the brim no matter who we play. As of right now, Notre Dame is likely to play Alabama, barring the results of the conference title games, but we will have the final results by Sunday night. Thank you. Now back to the desk.
Well, thank you, Megan. Terrific work as always. Great to hear from the Notre Dame student body, although I'm not quite sure NIU is going to be in the cards for that first round matchup. And, you know, for all of our sanity and avoiding flashbacks, let's just keep them out of the picture here.
Not quite sure we want to see that again either.
Well, either way, it's going to be a very enjoyable weekend for all of us. Conference championships, Notre Dame basketball continuing to ramp up. It's a week off for the two of us on the hockey side, but they get right back into it at Ohio State next weekend. And, yeah, should be a great time overall. It feels like Christmas here in South Bend, and that always makes it all the better.
It does, and with finals coming, you know, no one ever really looks forward to finals, but it's nice to have something to look forward to coming after finals with that big football game coming up.
Certainly. A little bit more than just going home for Christmas. Got one last stop here in South Bend for the college football playoff. December 20th or 21st, we'll find out this coming Sunday when the committee releases their final rankings and bracket at the end of conference championship weekend. But to wrap it up here, thanks to everyone behind the scenes, you, Ryan Murphy, Chris Daly, Trey Cody, Theo Murray, everybody who contributed here today to our final full Friday show of the semester. Stay tuned to our NDTV channels for a potential show Monday night as we break down Notre Dame's confirmed first-round matchup in the college football playoff and give some of our predictions. Murph, did you want to say anything about who you think we might be looking for on Monday?
I'd just be happy if it snows. I'd be happy if it snows, and you know what? I'd be interested to see if it were Alabama. I wouldn't hate that. You know, it'd be fun, and that's what I want to see.
All right. Well, I'm thinking maybe Arizona State if the committee's kind to us, or Indiana. Shout out Dylan Wallace. Could get the in-state Hoosier State matchup if they decide they want to keep.
I would love that too.
The conference championship losers in the SEC and the Big Ten out ahead of Notre Dame. But that's a wrap on today's show. Until Monday night, when we talk some college football playoff and the confirmations. Have a great weekend, and go Irish.